Welcome to the Kyalami circuit, located in Midrand, Gauteng, South Africa. This being the old 4.1 kilometer layout of the infamous track. So let's roll the clock back to 1975. An era in F1 that was quite fast and dangerous, with the cars weighing under 1,300 pounds and making just under 500 horsepower. These cars were very fast. Chassis and track safety still being a long way away from what we know today in the world of carbon fiber. All the chassis being composed of tubular steel monocoque and aluminum panels made these big go-karts double as a coffin on wheels. You had to be brave in this era and have, in the words of James Hunt, big balls. Today, I will be driving the Ferrari 312T, which the legendary Austrian driver Niki Lauda used to win his first of 3 world championships in his 14-year Formula One career, spanning from 1971 to 1985. The Ferrari 312T is powered by a naturally aspirated 3-liter flat 12 engine, making 495 horsepower. This car makes plenty of power to unstick those massive rear tires. Now, let's introduce our starting grid of today's Grand Prix. Carlos Pache, Brazil. Bob Evans, United Kingdom. James Hunt, United Kingdom. Graham Hill, United Kingdom. Wilson Fittipaldi, Brazil. Emerson Fittipaldi, Brazil. Mario Andretti, Italy. Mark Donoghue, United States. Tom Price, United Kingdom. Jacques Lafitte, France. Clay Regazzoni, Switzerland. Jackie Ickx, Switzerland. Joachim Mass, Germany. Vittorio Brambilla, Italy. Jean-Pierre Jarier, France. Niki Lauda, Austria. Patrick Depailler, France. Ronnie Peterson, Sweden. Carlos Reutemann, Argentina. Jody Scheckter, South Africa. Hans-Joachim Stuck, Germany. The voice you hear sending us off is of the legendary Murray Walker, who voiced F1 for many years with his colorful commentary. Working for the BBC, he was a voice that expressed F1 through an exciting point of view for many years. And I'm trying to see if I can do something like that myself, at least on these videos. So let's get into it. We'll be passing Jacques Lafitte in the Williams, also our teammate Clay Regazzoni right there. His AI are a little slow in that corner, and we'll see that tends to be a trend throughout this race. Coming along the side of Mark Donoghue, the legendary driver for Penske. He's going to outbrake us into this corner. Quite ballsy on that one, not going to lie. But for this video, I wasn't too sure on the style of, I guess, voiceover talking for this that I should do, because I didn't record any live. But I figure for this I could probably just talk about some of the drivers that we'll be racing with, and also Niki Lauda himself. And as we come on the back of Mark Donoghue's transmission to get the draft, we're gonna talk about him. Legendary driver himself as well. He was with Penske for many years. He is a 1972 Indianapolis 500 winner. Quite a prestigious trophy in motorsport. And he was also a mechanical engineer. He had a degree in mechanical engineering. And many say that him having that knowledge and being able to apply it to car setup helped revolutionize how drivers and engineers coexisted, and it just opened a different aspect of what drivers needed to know and able to extract the most out of a car. He had a great relationship with Roger Penske and the Penske racing team, and he helped them succeed in 59 wins, 50 pole positions, and 6 championships in the time that he was alive. Unfortunately, he lost his life in 1975 after passing away at the Oostenrijk ring due to a tire failure. He didn't pass away immediately. He was okay in speaking, but he unfortunately passed away from brain hemorrhage. These AI are quite fast in the Ford Cosworth DFV powered cars, and we're going to be here in the 3-liter 12-cylinder, but I made the unfortunate mistake of not raising the rev limiter, or at least changing the final drive or the 5th gear ratio, because I'm just sitting on the rev limiter throughout the main straight. And we're making a bit of contact with the back of Tom Price's car. We're gonna have a little bit of wing damage there. Tom Price, another great driver, the Welshman, who unfortunately lost his life at this exact track in 1977. A little bit of oversteer going into there. We're going to get the position over Mark Donohue as he was taking a nap or making a sandwich, maybe both. But going to be a little over aggressive on this corner. That'll tend to be a trend in this, is that drive with a bit of over exuberance sometimes, and that can tend in the car oversteering quite a bit on that corner, which isn't always helpful. Mark Donohue getting the draft on us as I'm sitting at 12,000 RPMs, just banging the rev limiter. I'm gonna put a wheel on the curb right there. Not ideal, because back in the day these curbs were quite big on these racetracks, so it's not an ideal situation to be hitting those. Gonna make a pass on the upside. Yeah, on the inside. Mark Donohue. Up ahead, we got Graham Hill in the Hill Embassy car. This is when Graham Hill decided to make his own F1 team, as well as race for his own F1 team. Quite a feat for many drivers like Jack Brabham, Bruce McLaren, drivers of that nature who were also talented and drove their own vehicles. One thing I should mention now that I can start talking about Niki Lauda, I think, and that is, if you aren't too familiar with the career of Niki Lauda, is quite a great story, and there is a great movie called Rush that goes over his career. He had a lot to say over what was allowed in the movie, so he said it was about 80% accurate to the events that happened in his life and throughout his career. So I'd say that that's a good watch if you guys are trying to get into some F1 related content and things of that nature. There's a nip in the curb on the inside there. These cars do get pretty loose as they got these massive rear tires, small front tires, and a massive flat 12 in the back to kick it loose with just under 500 horsepower. Mentioned quite a few times, but that is alright. Now we're on the back of Emerson Fittipaldi's car, hoping to get the draft here for sitting on the rev limiter. And this is after Emerson Fittipaldi left Lotus after winning a championship for the team in 1972. he made the switch to McLaren, also winning a championship for them in 1974. He is also an IndyCar World Series champion of 1989 and also a two-time Indy 500 winner in 1989 and 1993. But unfortunately, his racing career would come to an end after injuries in 1996 at the Kart Michigan 500, where he broke his neck and wasn't able to drive a car the same. And in 1997, he got in a small plane crash with his son Lucas, where Emerson would fracture his lumbar, adding extra salt to the wound. Emerson lives out his life now as a born-again Christian, and he will also occasionally drive some of his old race cars, as I think even a couple of years ago or last year, someone correct me, he drove his old championship winning Lotus around the Imola circuit. Up ahead of us, this is just the fitting, I guess, conclusion of this race is that we would be racing against James Hunt. And now I'd say I should probably talk about James Hunt as well. He began his career at the 1973 Monaco Grand Prix, so we're in the 1975 season right now. This would have been just 2 years into his career. At this time, he's racing with Hesketh, who he made his debut with, and then he would go to join McLaren in 1976, and he would become a 1976 World Championship, beating Niki Lauda by just 1 point after Niki suffered injuries at the Nürburgring, where he very nearly lost his life, but through pure will, determination, he fought back and was able to race. I think he only missed 2 races, and he was able to come back and still compete, which is pretty insane. Few more things about Niki Lauda. His first race would be in 1968, driving a Mini Cooper in a hill climb event where he was able to finish in 2nd place, which is pretty great for your first race. And after being hooked to the thrill of racing, he began his early Formula career, starting with Formula V and Formula 3. Infamously, his grandfather Hans Lauda didn't approve of his racing pursuit and wanted him to continue on in family ventures, as his grandfather was the president of the Austrian Industrialists Association. Niki initially asked his grandfather for financial support and was told, if a Lauda is going to be in the newspapers, it should be in the financial pages. When his grandfather declined, he went straight to a rival bank instead. Forgive me for this pronunciation. It's about to follow. Raiffeisen? I hope I didn't butcher that. To cash in the life insurance policy that his grandfather had given him when he had come of age. He started in F1 in 1971, driving for March, his teammate being the Swedish driver, also known as Super Swede, Ronnie Peterson, which is a pretty tough person to have as a teammate, as Ronnie was infamously known for being quite naturally gifted in his driving craft. He primarily focused on sports car races in Formula 2 during the 1971 season, as he didn't have the funding to do a full season of F1. Then in 1972, he paid $250,000 to drive the poor-performing March 721X, competing in 12 F1 races with his best results being 7th in South Africa and 11th in Argentina. In 1973, he signed with British Racing Motors Team, also known as BRM, competing in 15 races. Then, in 1974, his talent being recognized by Enzo Ferrari, he was signed to the team after heavy recommendation from his old BRM teammate Clay Regazzoni, who he would go on to join at Ferrari. Ferrari would pay Lauda enough to pay off his accumulated debt and buy him out of his contract with BRM. Niki never got to show his grandfather Hans Lauda his success, as he would pass away in January of 1974. He would go on to become world champion in 1975 after all his determination, so we are driving in his championship winning car in this video. In 1976, he would have an event-packed season, highlighted by his friendship and on-track rivalry with James Hunt, and a huge accident that he would have at the Nürburgring in Germany, where he would very nearly lose his life due to injuries from the fiery wreck. This crash would mark the end of the Nürburgring Nordschleife in Formula 1. That's where I'll stop the Niki Lauda story for this episode, as there are a few more cars that I do want to make a couple features on, so I'll continue on the story in those future episodes. Also, let me know what other drivers you guys want to hear about, as well as any tracks that you guys want to see get driven on. I should also add that after this video, you guys should watch the movie Rush, which goes into depth about Niki Lauda's career and covers the 1976 season, in which he had rivalry and friendship with James Hunt, and it covers his crash at the Nürburgring and his road to recovery. So I highly recommend that film if you guys are looking to get more informed about the career of Niki Lauda. I guess on the note of motorsport movies, as well as Rush, Grand Prix is also a great movie. That's the 1966 movie. And also the Senna film is done quite well. And Villeneuve-Peroni, that's also a great watch. Weekend of a Champion with Jackie Stewart and Roman Polanski, that's also a great movie. Super Swede, which covers the life and career of Ronnie Peterson, that's also a great recommendation. So if you guys are looking for some stuff to watch, motorsport and F1 related, those are my recommendations. Going to be finishing in 4th place. We started in 16th place, so not too shabby in this 12 lap, I guess you could call it a sprint. Wilson Fittipaldi finishing in 1st in the Coppersuca, Mario Andretti in 2nd in the Parnelli, and Carlos Pace in 3rd in the Brabham for this South African Grand Prix. Thank you for watching. If you guys got any comments, suggestions, constructive criticism, whatever, let me know in the comment section below. You guys could hit me up on Instagram or shoot me an email, no problem. And yeah, peace out.